My name is Jacob Crowe, and welcome to the Crow's Perch. Today we're going to be going through several different stories, each one comprised of a different kind of RPG woe. And without further ado, let's gather up a murder and get right into the first story. This one is titled When GM Railroading Meets Impossible Luck. This happened a while ago, so apologies if I misremember a couple details. I was playing in a campaign of Dark Heresy 1st Edition, which in summary is a grimdark game with incredibly punishing damage mechanics. Until you reach like 2000 XP. Tech priest with 14 chest armor, I'm looking at you. Man's be looking like a fun-sized space marine. Most PCs have only 10 to 15 hit points, and most weapons do at minimum 1d10 plus 3 damage, which is then reduced by toughness and armor. One unlucky hit can easily take a PC from full health to death's door, especially if it crits. And you also have to roll on those fancy little crit tables. Do not worry, Acolyte Brennick. You only took 3 damage. But he crit you and rolled a 10, so, sorry about your hair and your permanent blindness. With that in mind, our GM had one of those JRPG style encounters with an impossible to beat enemy. I believe he had plans for that enemy being some sort of mysterious ally figure who would test the party at various points and then give us aid or rewards based off of how well we did. Problem being, this is Dark Heresy.
In the grim dark future of the 42nd millennium, we don't allow weeb
Up until this point in the campaign, there had been other instances of railroading. The GM clearly had specific scenes and wanted to play them out in order, how he planned them. This, however, took the cake for how nakedly obvious it was that he was fudging the numbers behind the scenes. This NPC, described to be some kind of space marine-like figure, jumps down and challenges our party to combat. I get in a lucky early hit with a weapon that has a stun effect, and the NPC rolls a critical fail on his save against it. In Dark Heresy terms, getting stunned mid-battle with no allies to protect you is effectively death. And in this case, he ended up being stunned for 3 full turns. So, the entire party just beats the ever-loving crap out of this guy. Since he's stunned, we all make called shots at his unarmored head, and the NPC can't dodge or take actions to escape. By the time he shook off being stunned, we'd collectively dealt something between 60 to 100 points of damage, depending on how high his toughness was. Naturally, he survived, and then he did some sort of jump that got him to a high spot where the GM said none of us could reach, and tried to start giving a speech about how we'd done well and proved our worth. Since this guy was clearly supernaturally powerful and he just attacked us for no reason, I took out my pistol and just started shooting until the bad guy ran away. To the best of my memory, we never saw that NPC ever again. Big oof. So here's some reference. A demon prince. Think of him in D&D terms like a lich. This guy's like a campaign-ending villain. 80 wounds. This guy had at least over 100. I'm still struggling to wonder what he was going for with the character itself. Seems like he was trying to pull some kind of budget cipher, minus the cool dual-wield pistols. Dark Heresy was actually one of the first RPGs I ever played, and hopefully I can do some videos about some of the sessions I had in it. Janky? Yes. Broken? Sometimes, but damn was it fun. I'd recommend 2nd edition to anybody else who would be interested in it, as 40k is honestly one of my favorite settings. But anyway, let's dive right into the next story. This next one is titled, DM Seemingly Hates Lawful Good Characters. I was in a campaign recently with a guy who, frankly, isn't a good DM. Among the many reasons why I think this is that he actively punishes the paladin PC for being lawful good. The PC is your standard paladin archetype, strong values of justice, and whenever they see injustice happening, they are morally obligated by their deity to intervene. The DM constantly puts us in ambiguous situations where there is seemingly some kind of injustice happening. On the surface level, it's definitely something PC's moral obligation would trigger a response to. But every single time he intervened, it bit us in the tail feather, hard. It turned out we were helping the bad guys, or something like that. The aftermath of the encounters always made us furious. We free some slaves. Slave murders a child. We save a man from some goblins. He betrays us and plans to have us killed. We save a town from unruly travelers. The town has us arrested for causing a scene. We try to stop a frenzied crowd from killing an old lady. Well, it turns out she is a witch, and she slaughters the whole town. It's almost like he's punishing the PC for being lawful good, and it's not fun. It's not like it's only happening occasionally. It's almost every single encounter of the entire campaign. All of our encounters were these switcheroo situations, except for 2. TLDR, lawful good paladin PC is responsible for nearly every bad thing that happens to the party because the DM is constantly placing him in situations where he is morally obligated to get involved and serve justice, but then reveals that we were helping the bad guys. Why are we still doing this? Okay, let me clear the air right now. When you arbitrarily punish your PCs for trying to do good deeds, you are not being realistic. You are not subverting the audience's expectation. You're being a damn tail feather. It's fine to pull the rug out from under your PCs. And morally gray stories, I mean, those are my favorite ones. How many of you played Knights of the Old Republic and listened to that speech Crowe gives you? How many of those people are DMs now that only take a look at that first speech not realizing that, hey, Crowe was wrong. She was an angry old nihilist. Doing good things is hard enough in the real world. You don't have to make it that hard here too. A world can be bleak and hopeful. When you treat your game like this DM, it's not realism. It's edgy. Rant aside, let's dive right into the next story. This next story is titled Secondhand Anecdote.
My game is seriously serious.
So this is just something I heard secondhand. I had an acquaintance who really wanted to try RPGs. I had moved away and we were only in contact sporadically, so I couldn't really offer to run a game for him. Instead, they went to the local game store to find a group. Eventually, he discovered one that was looking for players and accepting of newbies. Guy was super nervous. I coached him a bit. Talked with him about the rules before the game, table etiquette, what he would need, what to expect. Then he asked me, so how do I make a good first impression? I told him the usual. Be on time, be polite, don't talk over other people, buy your own dice, try to understand the rules, listen to what others say, and then I recommend what I always recommend when someone meets a new group. Bring food. So, friend bakes a cake and brings it. I know he's a good baker too, and from there, things went downhill. From the mortified post-mortem I got over Discord, the DM dramatically rolled their eyes at the cake in huffs.
This is a serious game, and I expect engagement. We don't eat at the table.
Apparently from then on, he had it out for my friend, interrupting most of his suggestions with lines like,
That's stupid. No one would ever do that.
Or,
Try to be serious about this. This isn't a children's game.
He'd also stare down anyone who tried to make a joke or laugh about anything. My friend excused himself a few hours later, quite horrified, and I had to promise to run an actually better game for him sometime. First comment on this read my mind. If a man's willing to bring a cake to a D&D session, that's my man. I do not care if he is a murder hobo. That pineapple upside down? Kill the NPCs you want, pal. Hell, I'll make up new ones just so you can murder them. There is not a faster way to people's hearts than their stomachs. Screw this group, you deserve better. It's funny that people will think that because your game is serious or touches on sensitive matters or whatever you're doing in your campaign, that somehow that exonerates you from being able to, I don't know, have fun. Some of the funniest movies, books, media, you name, are dark or serious or horror. Those vulnerable, dark spaces are the perfect places to tell jokes and to screw around. If your game's so serious that I can't have fun playing it, then is it a game? I don't think so. That to me sounds like a miserable waste of time. Even games that are cascading doom spirals should be fun to play. But anyway, that's the end of today's stories, and if you like this video and you'd like to see more of them, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell, that way you don't miss another upload. Until next time, as the crow flies.